it's not enough to have good proximity, and it's not enough to be in the same time zone, or for that matter, having the same culture. It's what you do with that that makes you successful. And we kind of consider that our own, we coined that Nearshore 2.0. And I think in our panel here, we can explore a little bit more around how do we anticipate things like commoditization of services and ways to innovate that are really going to serve the customer. I want to start with you, Victor, in understanding from your perspective, when you think about generating more value for your customers, maybe you can help us more specifically explain to us what that means in more of a tangible way.
Okay, the thing is the following. If we look outsourcing, offshoring, or all these kind of things in the past, that was more commodities, call centers and things like that. Today we have to go into the highest levels of the global value chain, and this is the case that we are doing, for example, in my company, where we create a research and development center in Chile. Then 10 or 15 years ago, nobody was thinking, can Latin American engineers do the same kind of software that we do in Europe or we do in the United States? Because not even in India 15 years ago or China. Then can Latin American engineers compete on productivity, on talent, on cost with this kind of other places that were offshoring were very common? And this is what we did. And the way we did that is trying to understand that offshoring is not only cost, it's going further than that, it's adding new parameters to the equation. The first one was productivity. How do you compare your productivity with other engineers' productivity? Can we add value to your company by having a good equation, a good ratio between cost and productivity? If your cost is, let's say, half of the US cost, and your productivity is 80% or 90% of the US productivity, that is a good success. If your cost is half of the US cost and your productivity is half of the US cost, then that is not good. Today, we have achieved examples of productivities in Chile that are higher than what we have in the US, India, China. Then we go into this kind of parameters. The second parameter to go into that is talent availability. And I think on the last panel we were discussing a lot about talent. How do you get talent? What are the practices you use to retain and to attract the talent to your place? And that has become today, for me, the most important parameters. More than cost is productivity, talent rotation, talent availability, cultural consideration, languages, time zone, etc.
Ramiro, what is it for you and your organization around basically performing a great service for a client, and when does it transcend in innovation? Do you differentiate that at Grupo Assa? How do you focus on this innovation thing? 'Cause we use the word so much, you start to wonder if it loses its meaning.
Well, I think that the key here is, for a long time we have been working on the back end of the core of the business, running the ERP processes. And now we have available a huge amount of new technologies, and the idea that we have here is taking advantage of those new technologies, plus all the core knowledge that we have been gathering for the core business of our customers, and translate all that core knowledge into new tools to improve the efficiency of their processes. And I think that one of the keys here is to show our customers how to achieve their cost reduction objectives through efficiency rather than outsourcing their services to low-cost locations. And there is where innovation and these tools come to life, actually. And I think that that's the point of Grupo Assa, of our company, and I think that that's what Latin America should do. We need to position ourselves as a hedge to low-cost locations.
Over the years, we've learned in this business that it simply pays off to be socially responsible on many different levels, from treating our employees in the respectable way. They return the same attitude with a great productivity. By working in communities, we reach out for the talent, and that talent will not try to get the best jobs in Google or in Dropbox or find another Silicon Valley location, but this talent will be very glad to stay in the community and contribute to the organization.
You've been listening, obviously, all morning, Katie. It must be fascinating for you. Talking about this concept of generating value and your positioning as a country, give us a sense of how you are positioned. Obviously, you've done very well in this market. What's been your strategy?
Yeah, it's been very interesting. I mean, Ireland has moved, I suppose, from being a low-cost place where mainly US multinationals outsource their manufacturing and low-cost processing activities. And we've changed and developed over the years, and we now have over 1,100 multinational companies from all over the world carrying out a whole variety of different activities, from Centre of Excellence, analytics, and a lot of kind of centralized shared services operations, mainly for the European market. So we've done this in a whole number of ways. I mean, say looking at the innovation, we realized as a country a couple of years ago that we needed our services companies to change and develop and evolve. So we looked at this whole concept of services innovation. We tried to define it. So the way we define it is a change in creating sustainable competitive advantage in a product, service, and process. And we allocated resources and funding for companies carrying out services innovation, and we've had a lot of success in this regard. So, for example, I know the previous panelist was from Accenture. So, you know, we've been assisting Accenture, who set up an analytics centre in Ireland. They now employ 1,300 people. And also, we gave PayPal financial assistance. They now employ 900 people, and they've got a centre of excellence looking at the end-to-end customer experience and, you know, trying to develop innovations around that. So that's just some of the area.
So, Victor, in Chile, what is your experience around engaging with government entities or organizations that can encourage your industry as a whole?
That's a complicated question today about Chile, because we are just under elections. Okay, I think there were a policy that was changed 4 years ago, and I hope it will be rechanged again, that were defining 5 clusters of the economy. And the government was pushing for these 5 clusters, and one of them was offshoring. And I was invited to be part of the public-private commission for offshoring. And for example, we start with an industry of offshoring that was exporting $300 million, and after a few years we arrived to $1,000 million. Mm-hmm. Then the industry was developing, and I was listening about Philippines and the English program. We also did an English program in Chile where the government was giving a scholarship for employees to increase their level of English. Then the government has been pushing a lot for attract companies to invest in the country to create R&D centers. In the last few years, we are not only trying to attract industry, but also some laboratories like the Fraunhofer from Germany, INRIA from France, that the main idea is to promote this kind of activities into the country and to motivate the local industry to go to the research and development, innovation, and of course, outsource and offshore these kind of activities. I hope with the new government that is going, these activities will come back and we will continue in that way.
Well, you know, Victor, you really bring up a great point. We consider, in this, don't take this wrong with Chile, but there's certain countries that consistently maintain their focus on this industry despite the administration in charge. And Costa Rica is a tremendous example of that this group, CINDE, has been doing great work for years, regardless of who's leading the country.
That's an important remark, and I had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with someone from Israel, that are interested to do some business in Chile. And we got the visit of the chief scientist of the economic ministry from Israel. And the person told us, I have been in that position for more than 15 years, independent of the government. Then it is very important that this kind of long-term policies should be independent of the government that is in place.
Great point.
That is a very important point for all the countries that are here and government people. Don't change that policy. It's a long-term one.
About this issue of government, a lot of us, I do hear this often at discussions like this, where if the government only helped us X, Y, and Z way, we would be further along down the path. Do you think that's an easy scapegoat at times? And to what degree are your organizations responsible for your own destiny, particularly in human capital development?
Well, we're working in 40 countries, and mainly our customers are public. So we love all the governments all around the world because they are our customers. And in that sense, we try to deal with all governments. And in fact, we offer, part of our business is offering outsourcing services to the governments in the cities, in the countries. So we deal with the governments in both sense. And we offer services for them, and we outsource some of the activities the government has in some countries. In that sense, we try to use local people. I mean, we don't send Spanish guys all over the world. We have local people in each country, but and we take care of the culture differentiation of each country to deal with the government. But what we use is that for talent management that you mentioned, which is key for us, because at the end we are managing infrastructure. We need talented people to manage that, to give efficiency, to earn money, and to buy companies and sell companies. The talent management for us is key, and in that sense we use global policies for talent management in order for all the employees to exchange their ideas, to exchange their projects. Social networking is critical for us also, in order to have very talented employees able to work in one country, but maybe the year after in another country, or exchanging knowledge from one project in one country to another country. So this is very important for us.
Victor, any thoughts from you relative to, I mean, what I consider to be having your data protection game plan in place is just one of many things you have to do to be a global provider, right?
Yeah, data protection is very important, and there is also an opportunity for Latin America. We just discussed a few days ago inside the company that some of our customer products cannot be sold in countries like China. For example, some of our intellectual proprietary from our customer cannot be seen in China. Then, for example, they are using now the Chile side to work with these customers. I cannot refer names, of course, but because of the intellectual protection that the US is taking against some countries, then that is also an opportunity. And data protection for us is critical and crucial, as even our customers are competing between them. Then we internally we also have some special trainings about intellectual proprietary and data protection, and even sometimes internally we cannot even say who is the customer that is the owner of the specific part we are seeing at the moment. Mm-hmm. I would like to add a couple of comments about, because we have been discussing about innovation, cost, and a lot of things, but there is two other factors that are very important to attract business in outsourcing, or even to attract companies that invest invest in operations locally. The first one is credibility. How you get the credibility from the headquarters of the company, from your customer, to give you, to include you and to involve you in your core business. Because when you are part of the core business, this is something that cannot be removed easily. A call center can be changed from one country to another just based on cost. When you get to the point that you are part of the core business of your client, you cannot be removed and you cannot be eliminated. And you get that through credibility, commitment, honesty, ethics, and all that. Then this is very, very important to take in account. And the second thing is network. If we look, because we always speak about India, the most important country about offshoring outsourcing, but how? Why companies went to India, or why companies went to Israel, why companies went to China? It is not just because India is a great country or cost. It is also because there were a lot of Indians, citizens in the US that create that. China is doing the same right now. If you look Intel and Google in Israel, why they came there? It's one day, one person in Intel say, an Israeli citizen that was one of the most important person creating the Pentium, the processor Pentium, say, I want to go back to my country. And Intel say, no, yes, I'm going back. Okay, you take Intel with you. We are in Chile, Synopsys, because we have 2 vice presidents that were from Chile. That creates also credibility. Then it is very important. And Latin America has a big and a huge network outside. We got people going out of our countries because political problems. And we have people in almost every company in the world. And contact them. They are your best advocate to get business locally. They will defend you on cost. They will explain what is Latin America. They will explain the changes we have. They will explain the Latin American way, because we are different. We like to dance. Okay, in other countries they don't dance as we do. Then please use these 2 kind of things. Create the credibility, and second, use your network. We have a lot of people outside.
Great points. I think it's so important that we think all about the sense of community. We all participate in this community. We have to be much more vocal and much more strategic about our thinking, because there's great opportunities here I still think are untapped.